Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 183 based on novel. So let's start. Yarou Larou smiled when he saw Xiao Yang's joyous expression. He naturally understood just how much effort Xiao Yang had put in to search for these map fragments. Let's go, the activity we created has been too much. It will likely attract the notice of some experts. Although we might not be afraid of them, we will end up attracting some unnecessary trouble if others learned we have the complete ancient map in our hands. Yarou Larou's eyes swept around him before he spoke. Xiao Yang nodded when he heard this and forcefully suppressed the anxious emotions in his heart. He was aware that unnecessary trouble would not be all they would face if word of this were to spread. It would still be alright if it was only a map fragment, but they possessed the complete ancient map in their hands, causing its temptation to soar. Everyone knew that one would be able to obtain information related to the purifying demonic lotus flame with this map. Regardless of how strong the falling star pavilion was, it would end up in extremely great trouble because of this demon flame. Let's go. Yarou Larou did not remain any longer after speaking. With a wave of his hand, he rushed into the distance, and within a couple of flashes, he had vanished across the horizon. Xiao Yang and the two ladies quickly followed behind him. The area gradually became quiet after Xiao Yang's group disappeared into the distance. This kind of silence continued for over 10 minutes before it was suddenly broken by the rushing sound of wind. Over a dozen figures rushed over from the distance. After which, they remained in the midair. Their eyes were stunned when they saw the mountain range had turned into flat land. What a frightening destructive force. I wonder who exchanged blows in this place. They actually destroyed this mountain range until nothing remained. Numerous extremely shocked voices could be heard in the sky. A moment later, a sharp-eyed person finally caught sight of a corpse on the ground. Some people quickly rushed down, and an exclamation spread across the land soon after. It is one of the three he-demon ghosts, Di-He-Z? This old ghost had a peak Dozun strength. Who could kill him? The three he-demon ghosts are usually extremely close. Now that Di-He-Z has died, the conditions of the other two probably isn't any better. Hiss, these three fellows have committed all sorts of evil deeds and deserve this fate, but I wonder which expert possesses such skill. The three of them can fight with an elite Bansheng if they joined hands. Xiao Yang's group had already disappeared into the distance while these people were feeling extremely shocked because of Di-He-Z's corpse. The rushing sound of wind appeared 5,000 kilometers away from the location of the big battle earlier. A couple of figures appeared on the top of a mountain. They were surprisingly Xiao Yang's group. No one will be able to chase us here. I have already removed our auras along the way. Even an elite Do Sheng would have difficulty chasing us. Yarou Larou landed and laughed. Xiao Yang grinned and nodded. Their gains this time around were really too plentiful. These three old ghosts might have done all sorts of evil things, but they did possess a rich stash. Xiao Yang's group had ended up benefiting this time around. Try that ancient map. I am very curious to witness what happens when all of the fragments have been gathered. Yarou Larou waved his hand. The space around them suddenly became distorted. With the sealing of this space, they would be able to react in time should anything unexpected occur. Xiao Yang nodded after hearing Yarou Larou's words. His finger rubbed his storage ring and a few ancient map fragments flew out. They remained suspended in front of him. An excitement once again surged into Xiao Yang's eyes as he examined these ancient map fragments, which appeared extremely old. He involuntarily rubbed his hands together before he carefully began to put the map fragments together according to the lines. The speed at which Xiao Yang put them together was extremely slow. As time flowed, a complete ancient map gradually appeared in front of Xiao Yang's group. Xiao Yang heaved a sigh of relief in his heart after the final map fragment was reformed. His heated eyes studied the ancient map before he became slightly startled. The complete ancient map did indeed reveal a map of some land, but the lines on it were quite ordinary. There was no exact target or route. At a glance, it was like a picture that had randomly been drawn. This. Xiao Yang's face was startled as he looked at the lines on the map. His heart gradually sank. Could it be that the ancient map, which he had searched for so many years, contained no information? Do not be anxious. This ancient map is extremely old. It is impossible for it to be used to intentionally fool someone. It definitely is a mystery. Yarou Larou appeared much calmer as he voiced his thoughts. Xiao Yang let out a long breath. He tried his best to calm himself as his eyes slowly sweep over the ancient map in an attempt to find something different. However, there was nothing suspicious about other than an extremely demonic fire lotus. Try dripping a drop of blood on it. Yarou Larou thought for a moment and came up with a suggestion. Xiao Yang hesitated for a moment after hearing his words. He nodded and cut his middle finger. A drop of blood landed on a corner of the ancient map before slowly seeping into it. However, there was no reaction after everyone waited for a moment. There was only a drop of blood on the map. Yarrow Larrow softly sighed when he saw nothing happen. He shook his head and fell silent. Xiao Yang was startled as he continued to examine the ancient map. There was a disappointment that could not be hidden in his eyes. Kaylin by the side also shook her head and felt it was inappropriate to say anything. She was aware of just how much effort Xiao Yang had put in for the purifying demonic lotus flame. They had obtained this complete map after much difficulty, but now found that it did not contain any information. This was naturally quite a big blow to him. Silence reigned between the few of them, causing the atmosphere to fill with pressure and become heavy. The joy from having been victorious earlier had completely scattered. This silence continued for a long time before Xiao Yang finally sighed. He glanced at the ancient map in front of him and shook his head. Since it is useless, what is the point of keeping it? A cluster of heavenly flames suddenly rose in Xiao Yang's palm after his words sounded. This flame swept over the ancient map. Xiao Yang's sudden act shocked Yarrow Larrow. Yarrow Larrow was just about to stop Xiao Yang when his eyes suddenly shrank. He questioned, why can this ancient map not be burned? Xiao Yang and the two ladies hurriedly shifted their eyes to the cluster of flames when they heard Yarrow Larrow's voice. They saw that this ancient map, which appeared as though it would break if it was pulled, did not wilt no matter how Xiao Yang's heavenly flame burned it. Moreover, it did not show any signs of being incinerated. Increase the strength of the flame. Yarrow Larrow's eyes focused on the unaffected ancient map. He suddenly commanded in a deep voice. Xiao Yang's heavenly flame was formed from the merger of 4 heavenly flames. Its strength could burn mountains and boil seas, yet it was unable to burn an ancient map. There was definitely something amiss. Xiao Yang was startled when he heard command, but he hurriedly urged his heavenly flame on. The flame fiercely burned. Its high temperature caused the space around them to distort, yet no matter how Xiao Yang strengthened the flame, the ancient map did not show any signs of turning into ashes. However, as the intensity of the flame increased, the lines on the map had slowly become brighter. They appeared as though they were intending to break free from the map. Joy was revealed in everyone's eyes when they saw the lines. Xiao Yang continued to strengthen the flame without any urging, and the heavenly flame in his body was forced to its limit. As the flame burned with increasing intensity, the lines on the ancient map became brighter. At a certain moment, the ancient map suddenly shook. Many lines leaped from the ancient map and turned into ancient characters that floated in the air in front of everyone. 2 moons appear at once to fill the sky. 9 planets form at grand array on high. The all-engulfing tide gives birth. Demonic flame descends again to earth. Yarrow Larrow slowly read these ancient characters as a shock gradually surged over his face. What does this mean? Xiao Yang frowned. He didn't understand the meaning of the characters. Yarrow Larrow softly exhaled. He said, 2 moons appearing together and 9 stars aligning is referring to a special natural phenomenon. However, this occurrence only appears once every 1,000 years. A world tide appearing refers to the unusual phenomenon that will be created because of this scene. You should also understand the final sentence. The day when the world tide appears is the day that the purifying demonic lotus flame appears in the world. Xiao Yang was stunned. He immediately asked, it will only appear once in 1,000 years. Does that not mean that we will not have a chance? If we count the years, 997 years have passed since the last world tide. In other words, there are only 3 years left. Yarrow Larrow shook his head and sighed. He said, it's just as well. The purifying demonic lotus flame is too powerful. Forget about you, even I would not be able to subdue it. If one forcefully tried to subdue it, one would suffer from a backlash. These 3 years will give you sufficient time to increase your strength. In these 3 years, you must reach the Doshan class. Otherwise, you will only be able to watch the demon flame appear. I have worked hard for many years to only obtain this information. Xiao Yang bitterly laughed. According to what the characters read, the demon flame will appear in the world when the correct time arrived. At that time, everyone would have the chance to subdue it. What was the point of finding the ancient map? Yarrow Larrow spread his hands. If one thought about it this way, it was indeed not worthwhile. Xiao Yang helplessly sighed. He glanced at the ancient map that remained in the flame. He extended his hand into the flame to retrieve it, but the moment he made contact with the ancient map, the demon lotus image on it suddenly moved. The demonic lotus appeared as though it was alive as it turned into a glow that shot into the spot between Xiao Yang's brows. This sudden change caused the expression of Yarrow Larrow drastically to change. This unexpected change had occurred too suddenly. Even though Yarrow Larrow was close to Xiao Yang, he was unable to react in time. Hence, he only came to a sudden realization after the light had shot between Xiao Yang's brows. His expression drastically changed. Kaylin and the little fairy doctor reacted after Yarrow Larrow. Their pretty faces turned pale because of their shock. This ancient map was too mysterious. No one knew whether that thing was good or bad. Being the main character involved in the sudden change, Xiao Yang was startled when the unusual light shot between his brows, but he immediately recovered. His eyes were shut as he controlled his spiritual strength and wildly scanned the spot between his brows. As he scanned it, he quickly discovered that there was a cluster of fist-sized light suspended beneath his brows. Xiao Yang was extremely certain that this light cluster was not something that belonged to him. Moreover, he had never sensed the existence of this thing in the past. Clearly, this thing was the mysterious object that had just shot from the ancient map into his brows. Xiao Yang's spirit stared at the white light cluster, but it simply floated there and did not do anything else. However, it was this kind of quietness that caused Xiao Yang to feel a chill within his heart. The unknown was always frightening, especially when it came to such a terrifying object. Additionally, this thing had appeared in his mind. Bastard! Xiao Yang ruthlessly cursed in his heart and inhaled a couple of deep breaths as he tried his best to recover his calmness. Only once he had recovered did he maneuver his spiritual strength to slowly approach the light cluster. The light cluster did not react when Xiao Yang approached. Xiao Yang's spiritual strength came closer. His spiritual strength quietly gathered together as it prepared to launch a fatal attack on this mysterious thing. Xiao Yang came closer. Just when he was about to use his spiritual strength to encircle it, a white light suddenly shot out of the light cluster. It was like a lightning as it shot into Xiao Yang's soul. Xiao Yang's heart was startled when he sensed this unexpected change, but he did not panic. He swiftly maneuvered all of his spiritual strength and formed an extremely powerful shield in front of him. Nevertheless, this weak-looking white glow penetrated through his spiritual defenses without being hindered. It shot into his soul in front of his shocked eyes. Xiao Yang's body suddenly stilled when the white light shot into his soul. A painful expression surfaced on his face. Yarrow Laro's heart immediately sank when he saw the pain on Xiao Yang's face. His large hand pressed on Xiao Yang's head with lightning-like speed, and his spiritual strength was preparing to forcefully charge into Xiao Yang's body. However, Xiao Yang suddenly opened his eyes and began to pant when Yarrow Laro's spiritual strength was about to enter his body. What happened? Yarrow Laro hurriedly halted his actions and asked a question when he saw Xiao Yang open his eyes. I don't know. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of air and shook his head. After which, he pointed at the spot between his brows and said, "It is here. No matter how I try, I am unable to touch it even a little, but it simply remains there without any signs of moving." How old were you when we first met? Yarrow Laro stared at Xiao Yang before suddenly asking. 15. Xiao Yang was startled. He glanced at Yarrow Laro with some surprise. Clearly, he did not understand Yarrow Laro's intentions. Yarrow Laro sighed in relief only after hearing Xiao Yang's reply. He bitterly laughed. I was afraid that someone had possessed your body. Some ancient experts might be physically dead, but their spirits are left behind. Moreover, if a spirit is powerful enough, it will be able to devour another person's soul and occupy that body. Xiao Yang widened his mouth. He could only bitterly smile and shake his head. What is that thing? Yarrow Laro's expression was a little grave as he asked. Xiao Yang rubbed his brow. A moment later, he said, I am also unsure. Upon contact with it, I was only able to receive some information. There were 4 words in that information. What are they? Yarrow Laro asked. Purifying demonic lotus saint. Xiao Yang spoke each word with a pause. Purifying demonic lotus saint. Yarrow Laro was slightly startled. He immediately pondered the words as he sat alone on a rock to the side. It appeared as though he had some impression of this name. Xiao Yang, Kaylin, and the little fairy doctor exchanged glances when they saw Yarrow Laro sit down. They quietly waited without making a sound. This wait continued for around 10 minutes or so before Yarrow Laro finally shook his head. His eyes stared intently at Xiao Yang as he softly said, if I have guessed correctly, this purifying demonic lotus saint should be a top expert 10,000 years ago. Moreover, he was once the owner of the purifying demonic lotus flame. The owner of the purifying demonic lotus flame? Xiao Yang and the 2 girls were startled. This purifying demonic lotus saint was actually that powerful. He was able to become the owner of the purifying demonic lotus flame? No wonder he would be given such a title. This purifying demonic lotus saint was an extremely well-known person 10,000 years ago. I have read a little about him in some ancient books. It is rumored that this person was known as the expert closest to a Do Di in that era, Yarrow Laro slowly explained. An expert closest to a Do Di, Xiao Yang clenched his hand without realizing it. It was unexpected that this purifying demonic lotus saint reached such a level. His title was really extraordinary. Could that thing under my brows be left by the purifying demonic lotus saint? Xiao Yang asked. It is likely the case. This ancient map is likely something that the purifying demonic lotus saint left behind. Yarrow Laro nodded. He looked at Xiao Yang's somewhat uncertain expression and bitterly laughed. I also really don't understand what has happened. However, based on the record that I have read in the ancient books, this purifying demonic lotus saint might be a little heretical, but he can be considered quite upright. It is likely that he will not use some overly shameless methods. That thing under your brow will likely not pose much of a threat to you. Xiao Yang involuntarily rolled his eyes. This reasoning was a little too forced, but he did not have another answer at this moment. All he could do was hope for the best and pray that this thing would not bring him any trouble. I think that this thing hidden within the ancient map will be related to the purifying demonic lotus flame. Ha ha, this might be the benefit of collecting the ancient map, Yarrow Larrow laughed. At this moment, all he could do was comfort Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang helplessly shook his head. Since the situation had developed like this, it was pointless for him to be dispirited. All he could do now was to believe that the situation was just as Yarrow Larrow had described. This thing was a benefit from completing the ancient map. However, the only thing that caused Xiao Yang to relax was that he did not sense any danger from the cluster of light. His spirit had reached such strength that he would ultimately feel something if he faced any danger. However, Xiao Yang did not sense anything from the mysterious light cluster that caused him to feel a danger. Let's just quietly wait and observe this thing. Yarrow Larrow patted Xiao Yang's shoulder. His expression was a little serious as he said, "Now, you should be thinking of how you can raise your strength to the Doshan class within these 3 years. I need not say anything more regarding the strength of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Honestly speaking, if the current me met the purifying demonic lotus flame, there would only be one fate that awaited me. I would turn into its fire slave." The corner of Xiao Yang's mouth slightly twitched. He naturally understood what a fire slave was. It was the slave of a flame. The slave's mind was controlled by a heavenly flame, but only some extremely powerful heavenly flames possessed such an ability. Even the 3000 burning flame did not possess such an ability. Based on Xiao Yang's guess, it was likely that only those heavenly flames ranked in the top 3 could make a fire slave. In the past, I was worried about how you would handle the purifying demonic lotus flame if you were to find it. Fortunately, there is a little more time than I expected. Yarrow Larrow smiled. He continued, "You are currently at the peak of an 8-star Dozun. There is still an incredible distance to a true Dosheng. Even if your training speed is fast, it will be extremely difficult to reach the Doshan class within 3 years. If you do not reach the Doshan class, I will not allow you to go even if the purifying demonic lotus flame really appears because you are only going to attempt suicide." Xiao Yang bitterly smiled. He had not expected Yarrow Larrow to be this afraid of the purifying demonic lotus flame. In that case, the only solution is to get Xiao Yang to reach the Doshan class within 3 years, right? Kaylin opened her mouth and asked. Yarrow Larrow slightly nodded. His eyes landed on Xiao Yang as he said, "The chances of success are extremely low. Fortunately, you seem to be quite lucky." Xiao Yang was startled. He suddenly recovered. "Teacher is saying, the Bodhisattva ancient tree?" Yarrow Larrow nodded. He smiled and said, "Unless you are able to obtain the Bodhisattva heart, it is basically impossible for you to reach the Doshan class within 3 years. Bodhisattva heart." Xiao Yang smacked his mouth. He bitterly laughed. "This will not be easy either. The location of the Bodhisattva ancient tree is within the ancient wasteland region. It is a forbidden ground for humans. Moreover, the ancient region is huge. How can it be so easy to find the Bodhisattva ancient tree? If it was easy, would you even have the chance to go?" Yarrow Larrow smiled and chided him. He said, "You possess a Bodhisattva seed in your hand. Although its purity is quite low, it should enable you to sense the Bodhisattva ancient tree. This is your advantage, and this is your only path if you really wish to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame. Hence, you must obtain this Bodhisattva heart." Xiao Yang sighed. He could only nod his head. It seemed that he needed to head to the ancient wasteland region this time around. If he relied on his normal training speed, he would not be able to reach the Doshan class within 3 years. "Let's go. We will return to the Falling Star Pavilion and properly plan. If the news is real, the Central Plains will become bedlam because of the Bodhisattva ancient tree. At that time, the ancient wasteland region will really become lively." Yarrow Larrow stood up and faintly said, "Whether you will be able to reach the Doshan class within 3 years will rely on the Bodhisattva ancient tree." Xiao Yang's group did not continue to remain after making up their minds. They immediately moved and hurried back to the Falling Star Pavilion. After returning to the pavilion, the group rested for 2 days. Information related to the Bodhisattva ancient tree began to sweep across the Central Plains with a frightening storm-like speed during these 2 days. With the simple name, Bodhisattva ancient tree, the entire Central Plains had undoubtedly turned into a mess at this moment. Even the old demons who lived in seclusion had appeared because of this earth-shaking news. Although the ancient wasteland region was quite dangerous, the danger merely existed because there was insufficient allure. This time around, the allure of the Bodhisattva ancient tree was something that no one could resist. Hence, this so-called forbidden ground no longer deterred anyone. The Doshan class represented the peak level across the continent. A countless number of people had fought their entire lives in order to reach this legendary level. As long as there was even the slightest thing that could raise the chances of them reaching that level, everyone would pounce over without any hesitation. Even if they were moths pouncing into a flame, none of them would hesitate even a little. Clearly, the appearance of the Bodhisattva ancient tree stirred a great storm across the Central Plains. While various factions throughout the Central Plains were experiencing a great commotion, Xiao Yang, who had rested for 2 days, gradually recovered. However, he did not leave. Instead, he found a secluded chamber and undertook a retreat. After having heard Yarolaro's words, Xiao Yang's heart had honestly begun to view the purifying demonic lotus flame seriously. He was clearly aware that Yarolaro would not lie to him, and Yarolaro's experience was far from what he could compare with. Since Yarolaro had spoken such words, Yarolaro would definitely not allow him to touch the purifying demonic lotus flame unless he reached the Doshan class. In that case, he could only start to concentrate on his next aim, the Bodhisattva ancient tree that was about to appear. If he wished to reach the Doshan class within 3 years, he needed to borrow the strength of the Bodhisattva heart. Otherwise, it was impossible to advance in time. Time was something that Xiao Yang was aware of after thinking about training in the heavenly tomb back then. The energy in that place was a couple of times denser than in the outside world. Xiao Yang might have trained 3 years within the heavenly tomb, but if he had not obtained the inheritance of his ancestor, Xiao Xian, it probably would have been impossible to reach his current level, and one would find it more difficult to train during the later stages of the Dozun class. He was currently only at the peak of an 8-star Dozun. There was still the 9th star and the peak of the 9th star above him. After reaching the peak, he would still need to experience the 9 changes in order to break through to the Doshan class. With this many steps, it was impossible for an ordinary person to finish the training within 30 years, much less in a mere 3 years. Even though Xiao Yang possessed an extremely great talent and had the aid of many medicinal pills, it was impossible for him to reduce this amount of time by 10 times or more. Hence, he needed to take this opportunity to enter the ancient wasteland region and obtain the Bodhisattva heart. Only with the Bodhisattva heart would his strength soar within 3 years and reach the Doshan class. Otherwise, when the purifying demonic lotus flame appeared in 3 years' time, he could only be an observer that watched this heavenly flame become someone else's property. Xiao Yang was unable to endure such a thing. Hence, he had to obtain the Bodhisattva heart. Moreover, the Bodhisattva ancient tree had clearly stirred the attention of many factions within the Central Plains. It was not as easy to successfully obtain the Bodhisattva heart from the hands of these countless individuals. There would also be some like Tian He Zi or stronger old demons among them. Hence, Xiao Yang must try his best to increase his strength. The fastest way to increase one's strength was undoubtedly to practice a high-class Do skill. It was Xiao Yang's intention to practice the King Kong glass body, which he had just obtained, during this retreat. This thing was a Tian-class Do skill and definitely possessed an extraordinary strength. If he could successfully practice it, he would be more confident during this trip to the wasteland region. The scent of sandalwood lingered within the quiet room. Xiao Yang sat on a stone bed. He clenched his hand and a dark golden scroll appeared in it. He lifted the scroll, and he saw a couple of ancient words on the side. King Kong glass body. Xiao Yang gently exhaled and placed the scroll on his forehead. This Tian-class Do skill was not as troublesome as the Great Heaven Creation Palm. One could just use one's spiritual strength to obtain it. The reason that it was so troublesome last time was because that was the elite Do Sheng's intention. The scroll touched Xiao Yang's brow while a thought passed through his heart and a golden light shot out of the scroll. An enormous amount of information surged into Xiao Yang's mind like floodwater. The King Kong glass body, Tian-class low-level Do skill turns one's body into metal that nothing can pierce or destroy. When one fully masters this Do skill, one's body turns into King Kong. Their body becomes 99 feet in size, extremely strong, and a dazzling golden light appears. One's fist will shatter the sky while one's feet will crack the land. After reading the large golden words that reverberated around his head, Xiao Yang was able to sense just how domineering this Do skill was. This was a Do skill that used Do Qi to strengthen one's physical body. Upon studying this Do skill's method, he involuntarily let out a sigh of admiration. It was indeed a powerful Do skill that could only be created by an elite Do Sheng. The current Xiao Yang could be considered to have extremely picky eyes. The Do skills that he had practiced included some Tian-class Do skills, so his practice of this skill was quite smooth. It was said that all techniques would be clear after one mastered one technique. The various Do skills might have different training methods, but all of them ultimately shared the same root. Once one mastered this point, it was not difficult to learn other Do skills with the exception of some unique ones. In order to practice this King Kong glass body, one needed to merge one's Do Qi with one's bones, blood, and flesh using a unique method. The Do skill was harsh on one's physical body. Fortunately, Xiao Yang's physical body had undergone many refinements by various natural treasures. Although he did not dare to call his body undefeatable, it was at least able to withstand the harsh requirement needed to practice the King Kong glass body. Xiao Yang exhaled through his mouth. He slowly shut his eyes and began trying to practice this so-called King Kong glass body according to the method recorded on the scroll. Soon after Xiao Yang shut his eyes, a golden light shot out of his body before it suddenly swelled a little. There was even a faint bone-cracking sound that appeared. This growth became faster as the golden light became denser. Within less than half a minute, Xiao Yang's body had become twice its size. At a glance, he appeared like a small giant. Moreover, his originally pale skin had been dyed a dark golden color. Xiao Yang's body swelled to twice its size before it ceased becoming stronger. The golden light gradually dimmed and his body swiftly shrank. Within the blink of an eye, it had returned to its previous state. Xiao Yang suddenly opened his eyes after his body shrank back to its original size. A mouthful of bright red blood was spat out, dyeing the ground red. The corner of Xiao Yang's mouth twitched after spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. His expression became quite ugly. This damn scroll did not mention that practicing this King Kong glass body requires one to endure an intense pain. Imagine a person's body suddenly swelling a couple of times its size. Just what would the body feel? Its skin would tear, its muscles would break, its bones would shatter. No wonder there's such a harsh requirement for one's physical body. If it was someone with a weaker constitution, the first swell from earlier would have caused their body to burst apart. Xiao Yang shook his head in a speechless manner. He quietly sighed. Regardless of how much pain he felt, he needed to practice it. It was impossible not to pay a price if one wished to obtain great strength. If Xiao Yang was able to endure this kind of intense pain, he would get used to such a transformation with his constitution. At that time, he would be able to truly unleash the might of the King Kong glass body, but he needed to continue swelling his body, allowing his skin, muscles, and bones to get used to this kind of intense pain. Practicing this Do skill is a kind of torture. Xiao Yang miserably sighed in his heart. He once again shut his eyes as a golden light shot out. His body swelled once again before shrinking. After which, it swelled and shrank again as fresh blood was spat time and time again. It was as though blood was free as he continued to spit it out of his mouth. Fortunately, the fresh blood that was spat out diminished with the flow of time. Half a month passed while Xiao Yang was undertaking a retreat. During this half a month, the Central Plains had descended into chaos. Countless factions had already dispatched their people to head near the ancient wasteland region, but the main forces did not move because they were waiting for the accuracy of the information to be confirmed. Once the Bodhisattva ancient tree truly appeared, it would create an unusual phenomenon. At that moment, the entire Central Plains would be able to sense the change. Only when they truly sensed this kind of phenomenon would these factions, which were ready to move, truly become excited. Another 5 days slowly passed with this restlessness. When the first ray of morning light shot to the land on the 6th day, a clear aura suddenly began to sweep from the northeastern sky across the Central Plains. It was like a wave that suddenly swept over the sky and scattered into the distance. Anyone who inhaled this clear air would have a similar image appear deep within their minds. It was that of an ancient towering tree. An intelligent aura spread from this ancient tree. This was the legendary Bodhisattva ancient tree. A commotion had finally broken out across the Central Plains at this moment. There were a cluster of quiet rooms deep within the Falling Star Pavilion. All of these rooms were built for the elders of the Falling Star Pavilion. Only elders had the qualification to train in these rooms since the energy there was the densest within the star realm. Many elders would gather in this place on an ordinary day to spar and train. It was naturally no different at this moment. Many elderly figures were standing around the empty ground outside of these quiet rooms as they chatted merrily. Bang! This kind of peaceful atmosphere did not last for long before it was suddenly broken by an intense explosion. Immediately, many stunned gazes shot over. They landed on a quiet room that was a short distance away as it suddenly blasted apart. There was a golden light vaguely flickering from it. This is. Many elders were stunned upon seeing this light. Bang! Another loud sound appeared as the tough room was forcefully blasted apart. After which, a 70-foot-tall yellow golden giant stood up from the quiet room in front of many stunned eyes. Its steps shook the mountain as it walked out of the ruins of the room. After which, it explosively roared at the sky. The frightening sound immediately became a real substance that swept apart like a storm. That powerful sonic wave spread to every corner of the star realm. Those elders who were near it were forced back by over a dozen steps before their bodies were stabilized. What is that thing? Most of the elders' expressions changed when they sensed the frightening strength of the yellow golden giant. They could sense an extremely dangerous aura from it. It was as though that big fellow only needed to throw a punch to smash them into mincemeat. This feeling caused the eyes of many elders to involuntarily twitch. The weakest among them was barely a dozun while the strongest were 8 or 9-star dozuns. However, even these people felt an extreme danger when looking at this yellow golden giant. Fortunately, these elders did possess the quality that an expert ought to have. They swiftly scattered after feeling an initial shock and vaguely formed a circle around the yellow golden giant. They would attack and kill it if it displayed any unusual activity. Haha, is this the King Kong glass body? It does have some unique aspects. While many elders were solemnly watching the giant, a couple of figures had rushed over from the distance. They stopped in the air. They were Yarrow Larrow, Cai Lin, and the little fairy doctor, who had hurried over after hearing the commotion. Those elders hurriedly bowed and greeted Yarrow Larrow the moment he appeared. An elder involuntarily asked, "Pavilion Chief, who is this?" "Haha, Xiao Yang," Yarrow Larrow smiled and replied. The elders were immediately startled upon hearing this. They were stunned as they glanced back at the golden giant. None of them would have imagined that this thing was something that Xiao Yang had transformed into. "Ha." The golden giant let out a mighty laugh in front of everyone's stunned eyes. A golden light immediately shot out and the enormous body began to quickly shrink. Within a short dozen-plus seconds, the giant morphed into a skinny figure. Xiao Yang did not cough out blood after returning to his original form, but he still let out a couple of intense coughs. It was clearly the result of the intense pain from his body's transformation. Unfortunately, the King Kong glass body that I have practiced is only 70 feet tall or so. There is still a gap with the 99-foot peak. Xiao Yang shook his head and spoke in a somewhat regretful manner. You should not be unsatisfied. If your physical body had not undergone the refinement of various natural treasures and medicinal liquids, you would not have reached this level even if you had been given half a year, Yarrow Larrow laughed. Xiao Yang grinned. He was aware that the rate of his progress was already considered very good. The reason he was only able to reach 70 feet or so was because he was limited by the strength of his body. If he obtained some more natural treasures that could refine his physical body, he might be able to leap all the way to the 99-foot peak. At that time, Xiao Yang was confident that he would be able to blast apart an ordinary peak Dozun class expert with a punch. After this period of training, my aura has also grown a little. The ancient wasteland region might be extremely dangerous, but there are also many natural treasures that cannot be found in the outside world. If I am lucky enough during this trip, I might be able to reach a 9-star Dozun and successfully master the King Kong glass body before finding the Bodhisattva ancient tree. Xiao Yang mused to himself. The current him needed to constantly strengthen himself. The information has been confirmed. The appearance of the Bodhisattva ancient tree is indeed true. Yarrow Larrow looked at Xiao Yang before slowly speaking. Oh! Xiao Yang's heart involuntarily pounded when he heard this news. He tilted his head. It was likely that the other factions had also started moving. This time around, you will lead some people to head to the ancient wasteland region first. You possess the spatial jade token that I gave you. Break it if you meet with any trouble that you cannot resolve. I will hurry over immediately, Yarrow Larrow said. The Bodhisattva ancient tree's allure is too great. It is likely that even those ancient clans will intervene. Hence, it will be quite difficult to successfully obtain the Bodhisattva heart. Xiao Yang nodded. He was already mentally prepared for this and was unsurprised. I will need to remain in the Falling Star Pavilion to guard it. Therefore, you will have to rely on yourself during the journey ahead. Break the token once you enter the deepest part of the ancient region. After all, with your strength, that place will likely be quite dangerous. Yarrow Larrow patted Xiao Yang's shoulder and softly sighed. This trip is far too important to you. Do your best. When should we leave? Xiao Yang softly asked. As soon as possible. You have been in a retreat for half a month. Many factions have already entered the ancient wasteland region during this period of time, Yarrow Larrow replied. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. After which, he slowly declared, then we will get moving now. Xiao Yang had always did things with great speed. He would not stop even for a moment after making up his mind. He immediately moved and flew to the northeast. This time around, he brought 4 people with him. The people were Kailin, the little fairy doctor, Qing Lin and an elder, whose strength had reached the peak of the Dozun class. Tian Huazunjia was currently undertaking a retreat and had to be left behind. Kailin and the little fairy doctor's fighting strength had reached the equivalent of an 8-star Dozun. They would be able to fight against an expert at the peak of the Dozun class if they joined hands. Due to being in possession of the triple jade green snake flower pupils, Qing Lin was also in control of an extremely powerful fighting force. Additionally, she possessed the mysterious strength of controlling snake-shaped magical beast, so she was quite important for this trip to the wasteland. Although this group was not large, it was quite powerful. With so many of them joining hands, things would not be difficult unless they meet an overly frightening opponent. The ancient wasteland region was located in the northeastern part of the Central Plains. It was quite far from the Falling Star Pavilion. Even though Xiao Yang's group traveled at their fastest and shuttled through a couple of wormholes along the way, it took 6 days before they reached the borders of the northeastern part of the Central Plains. During this journey, Xiao Yang's group came across human traffic from all directions heading the same way as them. The destination of these people was the ancient wasteland region. This discovery caused Xiao Yang to softly sigh in his heart. It was unexpected that the temptation of the Bodhisattva ancient tree was this frightening. That place was known as a forbidden ground to humans in the past, the wasteland town was the last human town closest to the ancient wasteland region. Usually not many people lived in the town, and due to the ancient wasteland region's ferocious reputation, seldom anyone traveled here. Hence, the town remained deserted all year round, but it was different today. The appearance of the Bodhisattva ancient tree had attracted a countless number of people. This deserted town had turned lively in an instant. Noise could be vaguely heard from a couple of kilometers away. The first stop of Xiao Yang's group was this small town known as Wasteland Town. They had come later than others and naturally needed to obtain some information related to the ancient wasteland region. Otherwise, their fates would likely be miserable if they simply charged in blindly. Hence, Xiao Yang settled the little fairy doctor's group down after reaching the wasteland town before heading out to gather information. He only reunited with Kaylin's group 2 hours later. How is it? Cai Lin involuntarily asked after seeing Xiao Yang's expression when they reunited. Xiao Yang softly sighed. His finger rubbed his forehead as he said, according to the information that I have gathered, the group that entered the ancient wasteland region earlier have all died. There were even some Dozun class experts among them. The expression of Kaylin's group changed upon hearing Xiao Yang's words. All dead. Was this ancient wasteland region actually this dangerous? What should we do? The little fairy doctor knit her brows and asked. Some experts will enter tomorrow. We will follow behind that large group. Since this ancient wasteland region is called the forbidden ground of humans, it is definitely not a nice place. We will follow behind those people and observe the situation. Xiao Yang's finger gently knocked against the table. This ancient wasteland region was definitely mysterious. One needed to remain calm at all times in order to truly enter the deepest region. Any carelessness might result in the complete annihilation of a group. This price was something that he could not afford. Hence, he had to be cautious with everything he did. A. Original size, 80 feet. But author used 70 feet below. B. 10 feet smaller than what was stated earlier. Final, 70 feet. This video will end here.